So, today we are going to learn and understand a very interesting chapter known as Light and Shadows. So, shall we start the chapter now? So, in Light and Shadows, what is basically that shadows are the thing that if you walk in dark area and somehow a light shines back from you, then you can see a shadow in front of you. That's what basically shadow is. So now let's study about it a bit deeply more and about the light as well. So let's start. What we are going to learn in this chapter are, we will learn about objects known simply as transparent, translucent and opaque objects and what are their features. And after that we will learn about formation of shadows in day and light, how the shadows are formed in daylight, dim light and different types and kinds of light. Now, condition for formation of shadows. What are the condition requirements for a shadow to form? And the day and night formation, how the day and night is formed, and some idea of solar and lunar eclipse. We will learn all this about in this video over here. So let's start now. So here is a very deep contextualization question. When you are under light, you have probably noticed a shadow on the ground or a wall nearby. Do you know that what is that dark area called? Well, that's what just you can see in this picture. The light is shown from behind over here. There is a light source in this area. So, what will be and where will be the shadow? Here you can see the large shadows formed in this area here and here. There are different sizes and shapes of shadows depending on the shape of the object keeping on the front of the light source, right? Now let's start discussing and reading our chapter. Look at the picture of Jantar Mantar featuring the world's largest stone sundial and answer the following question. Do you know what this object here, which you can see, it's called? Well, this is called the sundial and it's known for its Jantar Mantar and it have the world's largest sundial, and here are some questions related to it. So the first question is, who built it and when? You have to answer the questions that who built this Jantar Mantar and when did they build it? And where is it located, as we have studied it in our previous chapter. Where is this Jantar Mantar located and what might be the use of this sundial? Well, as we all know, the sundial is used to tell time. Now, shall we start the chapter? Let's start. We know that light is a form of energy that enables us to see things around us, and light also helps us in many other processes like photosynthesis, formation of a rainbow, and so on. We have also studied that light not only bounces but also passes through the objects on which it falls. The property of materials by which they allow light to pass through them is called transparency. So, as we all know that what is light? Light is a form of energy that enables us to see the things around us. So, suppose you enter in a dark room, you can't see anything around it, but when you shine a torch on the room in any part of the room or any area, then you will be able to see the things around the room. That's what basically light does. It enables us to see the things around us. and it also helps us to do many other things such as photosynthesis, which is very important to the living beings, for the plants, for the animals, and it also forms a very beautiful rainbow. And we have also studied that light in the previous chapter, that light bounces as well. So, well, light does not only bounces, its pass through abilities also. It can also pass through some objects, and that pass through property is known as transparency. Now, as we have reached till here and this side, let's read and study about transparent, translucent, and opaque objects. Based on the amount of light that objects allow to pass through them, they are divided into three types: transparent objects, translucent objects, and opaque objects. Transparent objects are the objects which allow the light to pass through them and we can see through clearly, like glass objects, glass window, and the plain glass window that we can see, and air, water, so many things, right? Suppose you have a clean glass and you have filled the water in the glass. You can see clearly through the glass and through the water because both of the things are transparent. Now, translucent objects. They allow some light to pass through them and we can partially see through them, like butter paper, tissue paper, and tracing paper, and frosted glass. And there are some types of plastic sheets as well, which can be counted in translucent objects because the view through the transparent objects is a bit blurry. That's why they are known as the translucent objects, and we cannot see through them clearly. We can see partially through them. Next is opaque objects. What are the opaque objects? Do not allow light to pass through them at all. Like in both of the scenario, we have seen that a bit of the light is passed in both of them, but in opaque objects, none of the light is passed through it. So we cannot see through them. Such examples are table, chair, brick walls, and metal, human beings, pens, eraser, sharpeners, so many things. These are some examples of opaque objects. Now here is an activity. We have to shine a torch through all of them and find that is it transparent, translucent, or opaque. So see, glass tumbler, as we have just read before, is clearly transparent because we can clearly see through it. Plastic sheet, some kinds of plastic sheets are translucent, some are transparent, and we cannot see it clearly, but let's go with translucent because you have seen plastic polythenes which are not very see-through. Pair of spectacles are very clear, very transparent, because if they would not be, then the person wearing it would not see clearly. Tissue paper is translucent in nature, as we have seen before. Aluminium foil is opaque in nature. Black chart paper as well, and mirror is also opaque in nature, and cardboard as well. So here are some things that are opaque, transparent, and translucent in nature. Now, as we have all seen in the contextualization, what is shadow? Shadow is something that is a dark area, but let's first read and we will find out. Shine a torch on the table that is near a wall. Now keep an opaque object such as a box, book, or a soft toy on the table in the front of the torch. Can you see a dark area behind the object on the wall? What do you think the dark area on the wall is? Well, it is the shadow of the object that is placed between the torch and the wall. A shadow can be defined as a dark region or an area formed by an opaque object obstructing the path of light. So, what it basically says is that when we shine a torch on the table which is near a wall, see, here is a wall, we can name it as wall, right? Here is a table and something is placed on it like a wooden box, and here you are shining a torch. Now the torch light is coming through it, but it blocks the light which is coming through it, and this is a wooden table, so it will basically block the light and all of the light will pass through it, and the object will make a shadow on the wall over here. Now the dark area behind the object on the wall is basically shadow, and a shadow is basically a dark region or area formed by a opaque object which is just in between the path of a light. Now here are some conditions for the formation of a shadow. A shadow is formed when an object obstructs the path of the light that falls on it, as we have just seen here. Not all objects cast shadow at the same time. There are certain requirements to be fulfilled any object to cast a shadow. These requirements are such screen, a light source and an opaque object, and a shadow cannot be formed if either of these requirements is missing. So as we have made just a picturesque diagram of how does the shadow work. Suppose here is a wall, there is a table, and suppose there is an apple on the table, and there is a torch shining from the table. Now, as we all know that apple is an opaque object, it doesn't let any light pass through it. So all the light will go from here, and the apple will just form its shape on the wall. So wall be as the screen in the formation of the shadow, and the light source will be the torch over here, which is shining the light on the apple, and an opaque object will be the apple over here. Now, if the apple would not be there, the torch is of no work, and if the screen would not be there, the torch and apple are of no work, because they could never be there never be can a shadow formed, because there is no screen. How and where does the shadow could be formed? Now let's see what is the size of shadow depends on. Well, it depends on two different things, like the distance between the light source and the opaque objects that are between the light source, and the distance between the object and the screen. Let us understand it by this activity. In a complete dark room, place a lamp on the table. Here you can see a table lamp. Ask your friend to stand in front of it against a wall as shown. Here in this image, you can see a ball standing against the wall in this image. Now note its size and position, and where is the shadow formed when it's in this position. Now drag the table carefully towards your friend, then away him or her from the shadow or from the wall. If the boy would move further bit from the wall and the lamp will be closer to the boy, then the shadow will be of different size. Now if your friend will come closer to the lamp, it will increase the distance, and if he will go farther from the lamp, the size will increase. between the wall, and as we have compared it to the screen, and the object, that is your friend. And we have then to note the size of shadow again, because the light is just the your friend is just the obstruction between the light and the screen behind the opaque object. So the opaque object is obstructing the path of the light. That's how the shadow is formed. And when he will move further or backward, then the size of shadow will be changed. Now there are different kinds of shadows formed in different times of days. Well, during in daytime, when the sun shines brightly, we can see shadows in different shapes and lengths, and the position can be different during noon and evening, because the sun is at different positions and it appears to be moving across the sky. In the morning, when we see the sun is behind our body or facing our face, then the shadow is more longer. As you can see, this girl is in the morning image over here. It's behind the girl's body. The sun is behind the girl, so the shadow is longer. Now at noon, when the sun is overhead, the shadow formed is very short, because just the light that is falling from the sun is just falling on the girl, and the shadow is just over here because no side light is coming from. And same case in the evening, as we can see over here, when the light grows dim, like in the morning scene, the shadow of an object seems to be longer as well, because now it's in also back and now it's also behind, and in this scene as well. So at the morning and evening, the shadow will be longer, and at the noon the shadow will be the shortest. Now at night there is no sunlight. That's now where clearly that no shadow will be formed. Now let's do a quick check. We have to give one word for each of the questions over here. Name the object which allow light to pass through them. Such objects are known as transparent objects. Name the objects that do not allow light to pass through them at all. They are known as opaque objects. A dark region or area formed by an opaque object by obstructing the path of light, that area is known as a shadow. The property of materials by which they allow light to pass through them is just, you have seen the word transparent, right? Now we have to just add ENCY and just make it transparency, and that's the property of materials which allow light to pass through them. Now, formation of day and light, how the day and light is formed. The earth moves all time around the sun in a path called orbit. It shows two types of movement, rotation and the revolution. The motion of the earth around the sun takes revolution. To complete one revolution, the earth takes 365 days and 6 to 7 hours. Now here how we will learn that how the day and night is formed. As you all know, the earth moves all the time around the sun in the path called orbit. Well, the sun moves in a path called orbit, and it shows two types of movement, the rotation and the revolution. The motion of the earth around the sun is called the revolution. When the earth is just orbiting the sun like this motion is called revolution. And to complete one revolution like this, the Earth has to take 365 days and 6 hours. Apart from revolving the sun, the Earth also spins around its axis in this image, as we can see. And this line over here is known as the Earth's axis. And an axis is the imaginary line that runs from the North Pole to South Pole through the center of the Earth. Here is the North Pole, here is the South Pole, and it's running all through the North Pole and South Pole. And the spinning motion of Earth around its axis like this is known as its rotation, because it's rotating on its own axis. Now, if the Earth takes 24 hours to complete one rotation, that we know that 24 hours make one day. This rotation causes day and night. Now we've got the answer how the day and night is formed. When the Earth takes 24 hours to complete its own revolution on its own axis, we know that the 24 hours make a day, hence it causes the day and night. Now we know that Earth is spherical in shape, don't we? So when it starts spinning, the part here you can see the sun, only half part of the Earth is facing the sun and half part away. Now the part which is facing the sun gets the light, and in this part, this is the region when the day is in this part and in this side of Earth. And the part which is away from the sun is known as the night, and in this chapter, that's the night. When the Earth is facing towards the sun, that's the day, and when it's facing apart from the sun, it's night. And the Earth rotates in an anti-clockwise direction, as we all know, and it rotates from west to east in the anti-clockwise motion, and that's why the sun appears to rise in the east and sets in the west. Now, as we all know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Now let's sum all of the things that we have learned till now. Now, as we all know what is light and shadow and how the earlier times were used to measure the time. In earlier times we used the sundial to measure time, and we have learned that what is light, and light is a form of energy which enables us to see things around us, and the property to the material that allow the light to pass through them is the property is known as the transparency, and the objects which allow light to pass through them are known as transparent. And then we have learned about transparent, translucent and opaque objects. Transparent objects are which allow the light to pass through them. Translucent are blurry objects which allow partially light to pass through them. And the opaque objects are the objects which do not allow to pass through them at all. And after that, we have learned what is shadow and how the shadow is formed, and what are some conditions of forming a shadow, and some requirements like a screen, light source and an opaque object. Now, after that, we have learned in which thing does the shadow size depends on, and how we can control the shadow size. And then in this activity we have learned that how the shadow and the light source can change the size of a shadow. And after that, shadows has different times of the day, and when the sun shines in different directions, and at which direction does the shadow forms longer, and formation of day and light. That's all we have learned in this video. Now the rest of it in the next part of this chapter. And if you have understood it well, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Bye.